I've been called an old soul, which, that term gets thrown around quite a bit. Right. But I think there's numerous stories that are like this from my childhood. But and this is totally true, at multiple sleepover parties. You go invited, there's a pizza party. If it's like a really fun party, there's a bouncy house. But usually just video games, N64, whatever. I would inevitably find myself down at the kitchen table with the parents of whoever we're hosting. And I would just be having a conversation with them, be like, just asking thoughtful questions.
Hands up, heads down, shake it on, turn around. We're kicking down, we're gaining ground. We do it right, do the here right now.
Stephen McNeil, Big Steve.
Yeah.
Stephen McFly.
Yep.
Welcome to Super TRUEper.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
We, for the listeners and the watchers, we just unloaded about 50 boxes.
Yes.
Joel Tillerson, events director at True, we had a storage facility in Columbia, South Carolina. He put it all in a big suburban Tahoe, moved it here, along with 500 books that we've ordered from a recent speaker. And we just moved all that to our new offices that were up a flight of stairs.
My wardrobe selection today was based off lifting 0 boxes.
Right.
But it all worked out.
I also went with dark hoodie because I think I look better in dark colors.
Yeah, it's true.
I should have gone short sleeve today.
Yeah. Business socks, business shoes was not the right call, but team building, it happened.
All the True team is now in town except Valerie Garber-Turner.
Yep.
She'll get up tomorrow. Britt conveniently, air quotes, had to go home at exactly the hour of us moving the boxes. That's Britopotamus over there, for those of you. And then Mike Rogers gets here exactly when we're done, too. He arrives all cheerful, as he always is, and we're all sweaty.
Yeah.
It would have been better if Valerie would have been here pregnant moving boxes, and they would have missed out. That would have been even better.
Yeah. Well, my childhood home that my parents still live in to this day, we moved into that house 2 weeks before I was born, and as the story goes, my mother was moving boxes on the stomach and moving in.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but
what was your mother's maiden name?
Laver.
Laver.
Yep.
And what's her first name?
Deborah.
Yeah. That was. How did she spell Deborah?
Deborah.
Did you know that was my mom's name?
No,
that was my mom's name.
No.
Reason number 7,282. We're in the Matrix.
That's right.
I think we missed a couple of Matrixes the past 2 episodes. We're back on track.
Yeah, good.
Did you ever call
you need
it?
a Matrix button. You've got your red hot ID. Yeah, like Matrix. An X-Files sound effect.
There should be there's got to be a sound that Neo makes in the Matrix, right? Oh, we're on it.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Good.
Did you ever, or do it for friends call her Deborah? Has it ever been said?
No. That's a new one. Did you
as a joke, Deborah? We just as a joke. Because it was spelled Deborah.
Yeah, very good.
Now, listen, what was her middle name?
So Deborah Laver was her maiden name, and it was Deborah Eaton Laver, Del.
Eaton, okay. Because if it was, my mother's middle name was Diane.
Oh, that would have been a real.
That would have been.
I think we probably would have cut the interview at that point.
I would have had to stop right now.
And we're like, are we brothers?
Right. What? Have you done 23andMe? Yeah. We should do a whole episode on my 23andMe.
Yeah.
Findings. That would be fun.
It's a great story.
Okay, Stephen, let's get back to you.
Yes.
So you talked about the house that your parents moved into when you were just in the womb. They're still there. This is in Petaluma, California?
Yeah, Petaluma, a little north of San Francisco.
Where were they? Where did they move before? Have you guys always been in Petaluma? Like, were your parents, grandparents from there?
My mother originally from upstate New York, Utica area.
Okay.
And then my father, Keith McNeil, who works at an agency. It's a True member.
Yep.
He was born and raised in Novato, which is the town south of Petaluma.
How did Utica? I was about to say that's a prison. That's Attica. Is there a prison in Utica too?
Yeah. I'm sure being a teenager in Utica, maybe it sometimes felt like Attica. But
how did she get to California? How'd your mom?
She met my dad in college, and
what college?
Principia College, which is a little outside St. Louis.
Okay,
Elsa, Illinois, and by the way, whenever this airs, my parents are going to be fact checking me like crazy.
Okay.
They're going to earn a lot of points or lose some points here. But my father was in the insurance business. It was started by his grandfather, Doug McNeil, who passed away in 1981, so before I was born. But they had started McNeil Insurance. It was him and my uncle who ran the P&C side. My father ran the employee benefits side. And, he was then ultimately joined the family business. Right. They moved out to California. The rest is history, as they say.
Well, I'm going to have some more history because now I want to say like Persnickety College or Persimmon College. Yeah. You said something. How did he get to college in St. Louis?
So Principia, which is a beautiful campus, is for Christian Scientists, which is a sect of Christianity.
Yep.
His family, active Christian Scientists, as was on my mom's side.
Oh.
And so they both met there, yeah.
It sounds like a town like Narnia. Is Narnia a town, or is that a city, or just a country? What is Narnia?
I think it's a mythical realm.
It's a realm.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be someone fact checking me. They'll be in the comments. They'll be like, "It's not a realm."
Well, I think we need more realms.
Yeah. I've always said that there's not enough realms.
Well, it's like when Lewis Mosley was on here, and they live. He lives in a village in the UK.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that sounds way better than like a city.
Yeah.
Well, realm is even better.
Yeah.
What? We're getting way off track here already. What would a town in a realm be called? Would you just call it a town? I bet it would be a village.
Yeah. A fiefdom, a dorf is I think that's like a German village.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Yes, dorf. I was like, wow, thought you knew something that I didn't know. Dorf, yes.
Yeah.
A ham.
But by the way, for those listening to this podcast, this is how most of my conversations with Scott go, where it starts on a certain topic. Like,
right.
All right, let's, and then we just,
and before you know
we meander.
We're in Germany
it's
talking about Oktoberfest,
yeah.
Which I just was at Oktoberfest. That's what we're doing.
And how was your experience?
Well, I did this on purpose because I didn't want to talk about Oktoberfest, but I was just trying to pick a random topic. Uh-huh. Okay, so what Super Troopers are about is really the guest. We're going to get to know you. I'm going to try to be Barbara Walters. Do you think the young people know who Barbara Walters is?
I think it's a diminishing return. It's just a graph.
But she was known for making people cry. Mm-hmm. So I think Britt and I should try to make you cry.
Okay, all right.
Not out of pain or anything.
Yeah, sure.
Out of just
could
pure
be of joy.
No,
could be
just pure sadness.
But by the way, yeah. So they say this is a show about learning about people in the network.
Yes.
I sat down in this chair, which I feel is now like hallowed ground. There's been some great guests that have come before me.
Yeah, I mean,
sat in the chair. Yes, some better than others.
Okay.
We're not going to say who. And so I'm like, well, I've got my wallet, my cell phone. I'm going to put it over here in this drawer.
Yes.
I've learned more about past guests by looking at the contents in this drawer.
Did people leave stuff?
So there's like 10 of these. Oh. There's like some Milky Way wrappers.
That's no. You're not learning about past guests.
There's a spoon that's
yes.
used. And there's that. It's mineral, great strategic partner.
Yeah, a jigger.
Yep. And then. Well, they're AirPods. I think those are my AirPods. Actually.
Okay.
I was about to get worried there.
I thought you just found my AirPods. I was going to be very excited.
That would have been a great reveal.
No, that is Britt Burns. I will guarantee you the spoon and those wrappers are Britt.
Okay. All right.
Because we used to...
If only he were here to defend himself.
If only he were, yeah. Well, he's not. He knows that. So we used to, Britt and I, these used to be our desks before we rearranged the studio. By the way, how beautiful does the front lobby look now?
It looks fantastic.
I can't wait for people to come in. We've hung pictures. There's like real sofas and rugs. It's amazing. But we used to be out there with desks, and Britt had a candy drawer. And I would surprise him. I think one of the better things I would do is sometimes he would just come in and have there'd be a reload of his chocolate. And sometimes I would use chocolate, but I would eat it, but not often. I try to stay away from it. So that's not guess. That's all Britt.
All right. Okay. Good. Yeah. We've cleared the air for our
mystery solved. Okay. So, Stephen McFly, what year were you born?
1989.
Wow. So it's just so weird when you get older because I graduated high school in 1988.
Yeah.
So when I was like a whippersnapper thinking I was hot stuff, graduating high school, 89 was my big college basketball year. You were like a baby, like a newborn baby.
Yes. You would have beaten me one-on-one.
I would. I had you. I would have
yeah.
backed you down with the paint. That's amazing, because like now you're just like we're both real adults.
Yes.
But you know what happens? This is what happens though. You way mature for your years. Me way immature for my years. So that's why we're so close.
We've converged at the perfect. We're both like 48.
No, you're not 48 yet. I'm going to say we're both like.
You didn't go down that far.
I think we're 38.
Yeah.
No, actually, it might have been reversed. You may be like 45, and I might be 34.
Yes, I with some of my like injury ailments, I feel like I'm already.
No, just maturity.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah. Well, I'm bringing my immaturity brings it down. So you grew up in Petaluma.
Yeah.
Which I have visited.
Yeah.
So right when we formed. Yeah, after we formed Patriot, sort of our parent company, I visited Petaluma. Lovely, an idyllic community. Would you describe your childhood as idyllic?
Yeah, Petaluma, great town to grow up in. I think even as kids, you appreciated it. I think there were plenty of people that said, "Oh, can't wait to get out of this place," but a lot of them come back. And it's the history of the town is incorporated as a town in mid 1800s. It was really founded out of the gold rush. And so, you had all of these, 49ers coming to pan for gold, and Petaluma, the San Francisco Bay actually runs a river all the way up into Petaluma. Mm-hmm. And so being up more rural, very ag, heavy town, they would ship down food, ship down dairy, ship down, hides, of different animals, really to support the booming San Francisco economy. And so, fast forward, it's now very desirable. I mean, there's a lot of people from the Bay that are moving up to Petaluma.
Because it's technically wine country.
Yeah, Sonoma County.
County.
So yeah, right next to Napa, and the town of Sonoma is due east.
By the way, I completely have not mentioned that you're the executive vice president of strategic partnerships and programs for Sonoma.
Oh yeah.
We just I just assume like everybody knows you.
Yeah.
But they probably do. I will bet that there's somehow random people like click on Super TRUEper and listen to it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so I forget to like say, "Oh, who is Stephen.McNeil?"
Yeah. Well, they're going to see the thumbnail of me holding up a dirty spoon, and they're like, I have to learn.
I have to learn more.
Yeah.
There's one moment from your childhood that sticks out to me because I've seen the video. And that is your buzzer beating shot.
Yes.
Is it 7th grade? What grade was that?
It was. Yeah, I think that one was 7th grade. Yeah.
Can you take what was the name of the team?
We were St. Vincent's. It was part of CYO, the Catholic Youth.
It's like a youth
organization.
league.
Yeah.
Take us through this just unbelievable part of your childhood. Recreate it.
I like to talk about these memories, and my wife Elizabeth will roll her eyes. Like,
yes.
You're living in the past. But I think for any person that has like a big sports moment, these are big.
This is a legitimate buzzer beater. This is not like a pretend one. Like
so I was a mediocre basketball player. I was pretty good, but definitely not good enough to be on what they called the A team. Then there was a B team, C team. I was probably B team material, but the coach for the C team just really liked me. Mm-hmm. I was a lefty. I was different, and so every year I'd be on the C team. So I was one of the better kids on the team.
Right.
But like I was probably bubble between B and C. And so you play out your season, and then there's like I don't remember the exact playoff structure, but it was. So we're in the finals, and one of my teammates takes this heroic 3-pointer with a few seconds left,
right,
and just overthrow. And I'm there for I'm trying to anticipate where it's going to go. Hits off the backboard, comes straight to me, and it's like a fadeaway jumper from the corner. Swish, buzzer beater, win the championship, and they're still talking about it.
They're still talking about it. You know what we're going to do? We're going to get the video from you, and we're going to play it.
Okay, all right.
Right. So this is going to be put in post. We're going to edit it in. So I'm just going to say, but we're going to watch it. So we're going to pretend like we're going to watch it right now.
Yeah. All right.
So we didn't watch it, but we're pretending we watched it.
Yeah.
We are going to. I have it on my phone.
Yeah.
So because you sent it to me before.
Yeah. Well, we can track.
But those people that actually they get to see if you described it correctly.
I know. I'm actually now concerned I didn't. But and so actually one of the greatest compliments I've ever received was from, the A team coach. His name was Steve Greco. Great guy, Steve. I'm going to send him this
Shout out
podcast.
Steve Greco.
But it was just these are the kids that are way more further developed despite being same age, very athletic. They're hitting 3-pointers that you only dream of hitting. And he tells me years later, he says, Steven, one of my greatest regrets is not picking you for the A team.
Oh.
Which in my world, I didn't even want that. I would have thrown up.
Right.
I would have gotten nervous. In sincerity, I played in high school. I played high school tennis, and I played high school basketball. But I never played on the basketball team. I just either wasn't good enough, or didn't think I was good enough.
Right.
maybe that was it. But I would I'd sit on the bench and be like, well, at least have the best seat in the arena, and I hope I'm
part of the team.
In. Yeah. And I was really just I don't want to say comic relief, especially, but would keep it light. I was just a really good teammate.
That's I can imagine you were a fantastic teammate.
Yeah.
Did you know I played tennis in high school? Have we talked about this?
I don't think so.
Matrix.
Yeah. Did you play tennis?
Yeah, I did.
Deborah.
Deborah. We played tennis.
We're already learning so much about each other.
We matured at the same pace. Okay, but let's get back to childhood. So, at what point, you're very smart. I mean, this is not gratuitous complimenting. This is a real question here. So, you're very smart, great communication skills, very loyal and kind. Were you always a little mature? Were you more mature than peers as you're growing up?
I've been called an old soul, which that term gets thrown around quite a bit.
Right.
But I think there's numerous stories that are like this from my childhood. But and this is totally true. At multiple sleepover parties, you go invited. There's a pizza party. If it's a really fun party, there's a bouncy house. But usually just video games, N64, whatever. I would inevitably find myself down at the kitchen table with the parents of whoever we're hosting. And I would just be having a conversation with them and be just asking thoughtful questions. And they were just like, who is this kid? And it wasn't like I was antisocial. Then I would go up and play games, but just, I guess, sitting around and watching other people, it just wasn't as interesting to me. So I always found joy in that. But
can you look back to, because you always wonder, especially when you start having kids, you're like, your kids are different and they were raised the same. We'll cover your brother as well, but is that just who you were? Was there anything about the way you were parented that you think led to you being an old soul?
That's a good question. I haven't reflected on that. Probably so. My parents are both wonderful people, great parents to be raised by. My father, very studious. His free time is in his study reading books. He loves reading, very academic. And yet loves insurance, and that's overlap. But his free time hobbies is reading books on different topics. And then my mom, similar. Very, very respectful of the family she was raised in. But to be respectful and to show love to everyone around you. And I think in that there was an empathy that I got to really learn and appreciate as a younger kid and looked out for. And
is that? So I know Andrew, your brother, your older brother. I don't know him anywhere near as well as you. We haven't really had deep conversations. Is he 2 years older?
3.
3 years older.
3, yeah.
Was he the same way? I mean, what personalities do you guys share? How do you differ? Tell me about the brotherly dynamic.
Yeah, we're really similar. I think childhood, high school experiences, he was not as big a fan of school, and he'll tell you that, and yet grew a lot of strengths from that. Where I was more studious, tried to get the good, which college am I going to do? Got to maximize that GPA, but I think from I'm extremely close with Andrew. We are very similar. He makes me laugh more than anyone I know. And we just really always enjoy each other's company, and so I think, but he also into that old soul category, very similar. Always was talking to adults. We both went to a summer camp in Michigan as part of our childhood. We went 1 year together, and we won an award. Again, this goes back to an old soul example where the camp gave us, and I'm second grade.
Okay.
So my brother's in 5th grade.
Okay.
And we're in different cabins, but every morning, he and I would ask for the for the Wall Street Journal.
No.
So I could look at my stock picks, which I didn't own any stocks. I didn't have anything. But my grandfather was always like, oh, you got to really, follow the market, the whole deal. And so I would always ask, and all I knew is that the company he was always, he worked for and was called Woodhead, which is no longer a publicly traded company.
Okay.
But I would just go, and that was the one company I knew. And I would go look, and I'd be like, okay, it's $16.18 a share, whatever that means. But they were just so tickled that I'd ask for it. So they have it's a laminated Wall Street Journal, and it's like the McNeil brothers, like whatever. We got some award. That was like our summer camp award, yeah. But
so I've talked about a kind of a thing is I give nicknames to guests, but you already have nicknames. I mean, Big Steve. And,
too many. But I love them all.
So I'm not going to come up with another one. But what does Andrew? Because I would immediately call him Andy Mack, right away. Do people call him Andy Mack? Has anybody ever called him that?
He was Mick Drees, might have been one.
Mick Drees?
Yeah, Mickey. I'm trying. Yeah, he had a few.
Because Andy Mack, first of all, is that a person? Is Andy Mack a person? I've got a feeling that's a person.
Yeah.
Like a celebrity.
Probably.
Britt,
Probably.
Can you verify if Andy Mack's a person? It sounds like he should be a Christian rapper.
Yeah. Well, there's Harry Mack. Who's
first of all,
arguably the greatest rapper of all time.
So we're going off on a tangent.
Yeah.
Because this is a good story. So you turned me on to Harry Mack, I think.
Yes.
Who is a freestyle rapper.
Yeah.
Who blew up on social media probably a couple of years ago. I probably got on it late. But then I got obsessed with it. Well, there's Harry Mack.
Yeah.
That is Harry Mack. It's a talent that's hard to describe if people don't know him, how good he is at freestyling. This kind of thing is he'll ask for 3 challenging words and incorporate them in a rhyme. Then I love it. And then Val heard me. Val, also hot dog, also Miss Hot Dog, my wife. She's like, what are you listening to? I was like, it's Harry Mack. You're not going to like it. Now she is completely obsessed with Harry Mack.
Yeah.
I never would have pictured that.
Yeah.
She's not a big hip hop fan or anything, but that's how talented he is.
Yeah. I'm not like into the YouTube culture. I don't know YouTubers, but when I discovered him, like growing up, I was a huge improv fan. Would watch Who's Line, every night in the summer with my mom. We'd play Scrap. But I loved that short form, improv. And like to me, Wayne Brady was like the pinnacle. Like
Whose Line is it anyway? Yeah.
Yeah. So to say, to just take a suggestion and make a song and to have the music be improvised and make it like, to me, that was the ultimate talent.
Yeah.
And then you get to Harry Mack and you're like, he makes Wayne Brady and anyone close to that seem like in this junior league. I mean, he has perfected his craft. And the story, the more you learn about him being, 14 and just like, I'm just going to start learning rhymes and appreciate the art of hip hop and to make it your own. It's really amazing what he's done. I don't think he gets enough credit because to me, I'm like, that is international superstar talent. But
it really is very unique because I've been a hip hop fan my whole life and I've watched a bunch of freestyle and there are people who can do things, they can come up with words and make them rhyme, but to tell a story that makes sense, that's original, the way that he branches off on his stuff, it's amazing.
Well, it's too like, he won't swear if there are children present. Right. So like he'll swear if somebody's like, clearly this is an audience that, he wouldn't mind. But one, he's always upbeat. He's always positive in all of his messaging. And even when he has an opportunity to not be, right. If he ever accidentally thinks he might have insulted someone, he keeps rapping positive things about them to make sure they're not insulted. And then to be able to just like say, well, okay, there are kids present. So, and he's never said this, I just observe it.
Right.
When he doesn't swear, you're like, well, that's a filter that you're processing in real time. I mean, it's really...
He does, because he picks up things about people that he incorporates, like their presence, like the color of the shirt they're wearing, the shoes, a brand. Have you ever tried to do it, by the way?
Yes. I'm like a shower, like... I'll think of either raps or improv scenes, do the whole thing.
I tried with Val. I was like, I'm going to do it. So I started to, it was so bad. I mean, we should do that live.
You're like, I think I should know more words that rhyme with shoe, and yet they're just not coming to me.
This is something that every time I try to do that, I talk about Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Every time. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And farts rhymes with Pop-Tarts. And so that just makes me laugh, and then I'm totally off track.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's so easy to be like, again, he's talked about this in interviews where if you get too locked in on where you're going, well, if all of a sudden you realize that, ooh, it's actually more syllables than I expected or whatever, like you have to go with the flow. Like you have to be in a total flow state and just like be willing to adapt, like, but to do it in that real time, it's remarkable. I mean,
I reached out to see about his availability for a true event. First of all, there's no way that any representative of Harry Mack will ever listen to this, but they just wouldn't get back to me.
yeah.
And I have to think when I reached out, we were willing to pay a reasonable amount for a private event.
Yeah.
Maybe not. He might have blown up so much that he's making so much money off his YouTube channel. He's like, I'm not coming to a True Network event.
Yeah.
Although I think he would love us.
Yeah. He's been making the tour now. Not to make half this episode about Harry Mack,
right?
Like a keep talking, but it's like, he's going on, you know, NBA shows. Yeah, like it's clear that they're like, for him to come on set, promote a movie, whatever. It's like the perfect.
It's like a lot of people, they've passed us by our budget by. The Harry Mack budget is gone from us.
Yeah.
Unless, Harry, you just want to do something for people who love you. That was me looking at the camera like it was Harry.
Yeah. We'll send this clip.
All right, we're going back to Steve-O, Big Steve. I think when we left, it was Andrew. We're talking about Andrew.
Yep.
Which, by the way, you guys kind of look similar.
Yeah, increasingly so.
So
he was a few years older. So he was a senior in high school and I was a freshman, which was a huge benefit for me because he was a popular kid.
Oh yeah.
I had protection. There was no trash cans.
Yes.
Right. And so like it, but like walking down a hallway, it would be like, yo, Big Steve. It would be my brother or vice versa. Like that would happen quite a bit. And then there was a period where it's like, who had to wear glasses. I wasn't wearing glasses. Like there were like enough, slightly different haircuts, enough differentiator. And then he meets his, his wife, but at the time girlfriend, Lindsay, and she'd come over, and like there's a story where I'm sitting on the couch, and she put her head right there, like kind of like an affectionate, and I went, hey boo, which is what she always says to him. And she's like, oh no. So, and now increasingly, like even in last year, we're like more and more alike. Somebody just told me that I was walking Lana Dog. Like, this was a few days ago, and somebody was like, just say your brother looks really similar, but we're extremely close.
Also, I'm just going to compliment his social media game.
It's
like his stories, very witty.
Yes.
He incorporates a lot of R&B and hip hop into them.
Yeah.
I can remember I still don't know him that well, but meeting him and then following him on social media and being like, there's 100% chance I like him.
Yeah.
Like if I got to hang out with him continually, just his sense of humor and use of music and everything.
It's a very distinct comedy style too. Like I find it very interesting. Like if you were to say like, well, how would you describe Andrew's comedy style? Like, I don't know if I could do it. All I know is it makes me laugh.
Yes.
That's
exactly.
That's the ultimate compliment.
All right. So we talked about your brother and Harry Mack and Andy Mack, whoever he is.
Yeah. I hope he's doing well.
Yeah. So in school, you were very studious, had great grades. Before I get to Pepperdine, because you went to Pepperdine, which is like the most beautiful campus in the world, is there anything unique about your high school experience? I don't know, that just helped define who you are? Friends, family experiences, clubs, trips. Anything unique about sort of high school?
Yeah, a couple things stand out. One, when I think back on my high school years, those are probably the most creative years of my life, which I so enjoy, appreciate that I had the opportunity and pursued that. Where I would come home from school. One, if I was in class, I'd try and get as much homework done as I could in class, and then I'd go home and be like, well, even though I was studious, I didn't like doing homework, but I'd be like, well, I'm gonna like just do. The second I'm home, I'm gonna just finish it. Mm-hmm. You get home at like 3, and if you can be done by 3:30, that's like 5 hours of free time that you built for yourself. And it could be watching a San Francisco Giants game or whatever. But I was always writing up, whether it was a comedy sketch that was never going to see the light of day or songs or whatever. I mean, I've actually tried to go back and like document all the stuff that I did, but it was just like, just for me, I guess that I would do that. And so, looking back on that time, like just thinking about all the stuff that I did, I think that has really helped form just really having confidence in who I am, what I can do, what I'm capable of, what do I enjoy. We were talking a little bit earlier today, but like when I was in high school, one of the things I did was, we had a Apple computer, and GarageBand was an app that had just come out. And so, you download it on a CD, And so I had this little cheap mic that I could record in. And so I would record. It was a show called Big Steve Wastes 2 minutes of your time.
Okay.
It was a 2-minute clip of me just wasting your time on something.
Give me an example of how you would waste the time? Do you remember? Can you give any example?
So they still exist.
Okay.
They're in iCloud somewhere. I have not gone back to listen to any episode. I haven't had had it in me, but I'd blank on an example, but it would just be like, it would be just a rant about, high school sports or something, not about any individual, but just like kind of a comedy bit.
Yep.
But not, just kind of, and then at the end I'd be like, I'd see the timer come up and be like, yep, I wasted your time in the clip. But then, this is pre-podcast. I would then burn it on a CD and then I'd go to high school and I'd pass it out to my friends. And then they'd come back the next day and be like, I put the CD in, it was hilarious or whatever. And so at that time, Apple Podcasts came out, but podcasting became a thing. And I was joking with you earlier. I was like, this might save a lot of time than burning those CDs. So then I got into podcasting, which was very rudimentary. I mean, you had to upload these like file feeds that like I had no idea what it was, but it took weeks to get approved. But all of a sudden I could do something in GarageBand, upload it, and then within, half an hour it'd be on iTunes, and iPods had just come out, so people could download. And so I ended up growing this base, and it was based off this fake radio station, and it was called On the Air with Big Steve. The radio station was 6:30 a.m. The Boggs, and my brother and I would just do this comedy show and have bits. We'd have guests on. We'd even have friends that like want to come on the show, and we knew that. So like on an episode, we'd be like, because the whole thing was live.
Right.
That was like the premise, and be like, yeah, we're gonna have this person on, and then be like, he never showed. And then they'd listen to it later. They'd be like, what? I want an opportunity to come on. But so that stands out. Just like exploring those things. I just wasn't afraid to try things.
Right.
It was very entrepreneurial. In
like an OG like a really early podcast.
It was one of the first. I've had people come back to me to say, I listen to podcasts all the time. You were the first. That was the first I've ever heard of that. That stands out. I had the opportunity to do some travel. There was the high school educational field trips where you get kind of the colored backpacks, and I didn't do it. I didn't get to do it every year, but that was my first like international travel experience, and having that exposure, going with friends, but in a very, as I look back, sheltered environment, but to see sites in Germany and things like that was really, really grateful I had that opportunity. And then last one was probably a big one was I started journaling in my high school years, which was, this was in September 8th, 2005. So I even know that first day where I was like, I was like in bed. I was always writing and doing creative things in journals. I was like, I'm just gonna write 5 things that happened this day and just capture.
Was there did you hear about that from anybody, or this totally from your noggin?
It's totally from the noggin.
Okay.
And I don't know what I was trying to do, but I would log the time I went to bed, 5 things that happened, and then like I would rate the day 1 out of 10. Like, how was it? And so I started doing that in September. I told my mom about it. And so for Christmas that year, I got a leather-bound journal. It's a 10-year journal. So if you were to write on, Halloween and you're writing in your log, right above it is October 31st,
right?
2022, 2021, 2020. So it's like you're seeing 10 years if you do it every day of logs. And I did it 10 years straight from September 8th, 2005 to really September 7th, 2016. And so I logged that. I took a year and a half off and I'm doing it again. So
So you took a year and a half off, but every other year since you've been 16, you've journaled every day.
Yeah, never missed a day.
That falls under the old soul mentality, to go from 16 to 26.
And to like appreciate it and reflect in high school about the old days, aka sophomore year or whatever.
What happened to stop? I mean, were you just tired of it at 26? Was there a moment you're like, something bad happened?
Well, the fact that it was a 10-year journal, I felt like I got to the 10.
Got it.
And there was still, because it was September, there was a cutoff. Like I could have finished out the book, but I felt like, I did my 10.
Right.
And, it takes, when you do it every day, it doesn't feel like a chore. It's like brushing your teeth. You just do it and you enjoy it. Cause then you're also looking back on what happened 2 years ago tomorrow, 3 years ago tomorrow. And you can find lessons and appreciate a lot in that. But I think just I was like, I think I'm good. And yet, then like you have these life milestones.
Right.
You're like, I kind of wish I had it, but I don't regret stopping. And I've often thought once I finish this next volume of 10 years, I'll probably take another break.
Well, that's amazing. I was reflecting when you were saying that your field trip experiences were different than mine. Britt, where did you go on your field trips? Do you remember? By the way, this is Britt Eponymous, Britt Burns, podcast producer, director, creative director of True.
The aquarium in Chattanooga.
Oh, you were upgraded from me.
Yeah.
You're already upgraded.
That sounds fun.
Jackson's home.
Okay. So
Is it the Hermitage? Yeah.
my first field trip, I remember we went to Talladega Motor Speedway.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm just saying
if I were a kid.
it's on brand. This was, I think, at Claysville. By the way, you saw that this morning. You saw my elementary school.
Which was really special.
We did a little bitty tour of that old rock school. We went to, we went, and it's the first time I can remember you could walk on the banks of the curves. And most people don't realize how steep they are.
Yeah.
And we would play on that, and some kid like fell down and busted himself all up and everything. It was so steep.
Yeah.
But then I went a year later with my dad, and I think it's one of the only times that my dad was like so disappointed, because I was like, this is terrible. It's hot. It's loud. I mean, I was actually at a race at the Talladega 500. I mean, it's in the summer.
Yeah.
In Alabama. And I'm like a kid, like 8 years old. It was terrible. But we did not have matching backpacks, and we didn't go to Germany. We went to Talladega.
To be fair, that wasn't like a field trip that like just everyone, like it was a totally separate thing. Like sponsored in the summer.
I do think if we compared our school experiences
it might be a little
between
different.
Marshall County, Alabama, and Petaluma, it would be different. We've known each other for a while now, and I've always been amazed at the journaling, the creative stuff that you did in high school. Did you know you wanted to go to Pepperdine? Like, what were your school choices? What were you thinking about when you were trying to figure out where you're going to go to college?
So, sophomore, junior year, my mom was like, college search, like let's go find out. And we really looked Southern California, and we looked at Northeast, some schools.
Okay.
But really, we identified early on, like smaller school might be good. I looked at some big schools, and ultimately decided, okay, I think Southern California would be, best. I'm up in Northern California, which is some odd hours away, but it's remarkable looking back. So I applied to 3 schools, which was Pepperdine, USC, and Cal Poly, which is in San Luis Obispo.
Okay.
Halfway up. And in hindsight, so my senior year of high school, I got mono. Like I actually don't remember much of my senior year, which is like kind of great, because it's not like it's a memory autoimmune disease, but like I was just so out of it. And then it was like the time to come to apply to colleges, and like I didn't have the energy to, or even the desire to be like, well, let me just keep applying and write these essays and all these other things. So in hindsight, like only had the energy to apply for 3, which I'm like, none of those are safety schools.
Right.
And I did not get into USC, which was my top choice. But looking back, I'm so grateful that it didn't. I mean, Pepperdine was just a wonderful, experience for me and the people I got to meet. And so but I got to see that several times, on even going down to Southern California on a family trip. Like, well, let's go back to Pepperdine, check it out. While we're there, it's in a really nice spot. And
well, that's an understatement.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, in Malibu. And
what was your major?
I was a business major, creative writing minor.
At what point, because we will get to this, I'm sure, but we'll talk about it now. When you finished, you went to LA to pursue a career in the entertainment business, correct?
Yeah, after
college.
I fast forward 4 years. I was graduating, and I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. My family made it clear, Steve, if you want to come back and work at McNeil Insurance, and in my mind, I was like, yeah, that's a possibility. But also, the fact that I've gone to college, like, if I just go back and immediately do that, well, I always wonder what I might have missed out on. And so I lived in an apartment in North Hollywood with a wild bunch of characters from my, I knew them all.
Right.
and to some degree, it was the best year of my life from just like total freedom. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, but I was just a very creative group, and but it got to a point where I was like, I need income.
Right.
I need.
What were you trying to
stability.
do? What did you want when you moved into that house? What was your goal? What were you trying to?
It was really to can I find an internship or job that will help me buy time to figure out what I want to do. I wasn't sure, like potentially writing was of interest, but I was also fascinated, being a business major, creative writing minor. It was like you would go from accounting down to poetry, and then you'd go from, spiritual nonfiction up to, business policy. And it was this constant, and for me, it was awesome. I mean, I really enjoyed the mixture. You were never feeling too bored. And yet I was like, I've got this, I feel like there's a business savvy that you want to test out. But there's also the creative side. And so I wasn't sure. I was like, even entertainment finance might be interesting. And then you're like, what's this Hollywood accounting all about? But ultimately had pursued a few things. And it's just one of those things where it's like, in the way things work out, like there was a position I was on potentially going to get, and the person in charge of the hiring process died. This was at Disney.
Oh, wow.
And maybe it was going to be a long shot anyway, but then it kind of just like floundered, and I was like, that was like my hot iron in the fire. I don't really feel like starting from square one. And I remember telling my family that, and I was doing long distance with my wife, girlfriend at the time. And I was like, I need to get some stability around me. And
I'm going to come back to Elizabeth.
Yeah.
There are how many people in this house?
There were 5 of us at any time.
How many bedrooms?
3.
Okay. And were these people wanting to be comedians, actors, producers? Was everybody in a creative endeavor, or were some of them after?
Yeah, the way I'll say it is like one guy wanted to be a writer.
Okay.
So Jeff Loveness is his name. Just wrote the recent Ant-Man movie.
Oh, for real?
He the day we moved in, he landed a job as a staff writer for Jimmy Kimmel. It was like a huge deal, and that was just surreal. Being even just like, here you're 21.
Yeah.
He was the youngest staff writer, and so he was like following the writing track and was successful on that track. One guy wanted to be a cinematographer. One guy wanted to be an actor. One guy was kind of in the business space, and then there was Steven. I was trying to figure it out. And my roommate, Daniel Clark, he was also, I think, trying to pursue, and he was working in, radio and a few other things, but I think we were both less in the entertainment space, but really appreciated that group, and just kind of outside our comfort zones probably a little bit, but we just had a ball.
It sounds like a fantastic experience.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to Pepperdine.
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
What's her maiden name?
It's Elizabeth White.
Elizabeth White.
Yeah.
Okay, what's her middle name?
So it's Shemana Leilani.
Excuse me?
So it's EXLW was her.
how do I not know this?
Yeah.
Okay, start all over.
Not even a Matrix moment, just a fun fact.
So her name is not Elizabeth, or her middle name is?
Middle name Shemana Leilani.
What is that? Where does that come from?
Leilani is heavenly flower, and Shemana, I should know this. She's gonna
In what?
Kick me
In what
for this.
language? Or what are we talking about here?
Leilani, Hawaiian.
Hawaiian. Oh, that's right. There's the Hawaiian connection.
Yeah, and
So, okay, one more time. Say her whole name again.
Elizabeth Shemana Leilani White. That's who I married.
That's so. I'm Scott Smith. that just becomes so unfair when people have these cool names. I'm never gonna Elizabeth
Shemana Leilani.
Shemana Leilani.
I hope I'm saying that right. At this
Shemana Leilani. I'm gonna remember that, Elizabeth. Shemana Leilani.
Yeah, that was good.
That is fantastic. What a great name. Okay, I think I've asked this of every guest. Almost every guest, not every guest, but when's the first time you two locked eyes?
So we graduate high school. She's in New Mexico, so I don't know her yet, but I'm at Petaluma High.
Yep.
And when we graduated, this was 2007.
Okay.
At this time, Facebook had just opened up to non-college users.
Okay.
So you have your MySpace, and so we got on Facebook, and and this was all kids that were 18 at that time.
Okay.
And at the time, Facebook was big on groups. So there was already a Pepperdine class of 2011 that you could subscribe, and now it's people that are everyone's friending everybody. And this could be my roommate, this could be my wife, this could just be a friend, like whatever. But everyone's just trying to meet people, and so she friends me because I have something about Harry Potter on my I follow a Harry Potter group. She's a big Harry Potter fan. She has something about Pride and Prejudice, which my mother, Deborah, huge Jane Austen fan.
Okay.
Huge. So I end up shooting her a note that's like, hey, yeah, thanks for connecting. See, and so, but it's like this very, not intended to be flirtatious. If you go back to it, it's kind of flirtatious.
Oh.
But go back, we end up talking all summer, just writing messages back and forth. And again, it wasn't romantic per se, but it was just like, really enjoy this conversation that I wasn't having with anybody else.
Right.
And so going into Pepperdine, it was like, we already knew like, oh, we gotta meet up.
Yes.
Like, there's somebody who I've, just got to know really well, and to have this great thread with. And so really I remember seeing her for the first time, which was at like an orientation thing. She hadn't seen me yet. And then we got to connect later. But the first time I saw her, it wasn't even like, again, it wasn't like a romantic thing, but it was like, it was almost like seeing a celebrity.
Right.
Because you're like, this is somebody I'm like, really hoping to see and got to see. And
yes.
So we ended up being friends all freshman year. Went on a date at the end of freshman year. And then Pepperdine does a overseas sophomore program, and we were in different cities. So we're on our different programs, and then while in our she was in Italy, I was in Germany, and then when we met up, I asked her back out, and we were dating ever since, and got married at Pepperdine.
I'm trying to decide if I want to go silly or serious right now.
Always silly.
Let's go silly. I want to come back to serious because I'm going to ask you like how you asked her out and all that kind of good stuff. Britt, so this when you were saying that, it's such an intellectual Pepperdine experience. Like she saw I liked Harry Potter. I saw she liked Jane Austen. Like we started having this intellectual conversation over Facebook before. By the way, you're 18 years old at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to predict like the Alabama version of that, which is like, well, I saw she was an Alabama fan. Roll Tide. And I saw that she liked Spam. And I used to eat. Yeah. She's like, oh, I was a rusty. Give them Hell Dale. I saw that number 3. And then, but I did see she liked Bud Light, and I was a Miller Lite guy. But anyway, we started talking back and forth. I'm just going into character now, but I do think of like it is a real thing, like growing up in a relatively rural, I grew up in a very rural area with not a great school. And it just is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And your experience was in a really cool town with great parents. Like, I really don't. Have I met your mother? I'm trying to think if I met your mother. Deborah, if I've met you, I'm sorry, Debbie. But I met Keith multiple times. He's just such a solid human being. And then I come from this crazy background of in the country and divorced and all that kind of stuff. And we end up like with similar, well, I don't know if it's a similar sense of humor, but we make each other laugh.
Yeah. We
really appreciate each other. It's a very interesting dynamic of like two crazy different childhoods.
Yeah.
But as I was thinking that's so funny.
Yeah.
The way that you guys met. Okay, so do you remember, like, how do you go from just friends, just talking about smart things, to, I think I want to ask her out?
Yeah, so we hung out. It was actually interesting. So my freshman year at Pepperdine was not my best year socially. And I think part of that was leaving high school. I had something just early on. I kind of felt like people had already made their friends. This was the story I was telling myself.
Sure.
But like, I think I'm just going to hang out in my dorm more often, renting DVDs. And because the people that I was spending time with, like there were some people that I'd be like, this isn't who I would normally hang out with yet. I feel like it's better than being alone. But Elizabeth and her roommate were just solid friends throughout. But also I didn't want to spend, I wasn't spending all the time with her. And so there were a couple of different moments. I kind of throughout that freshman year where it was like, this is, I think, it could be like romantic interest, because that's always the classic. Like, does she feel the same way about me?
Right.
am I like going out on a limb here and everything? Would I be disrupting like this cool friendship that we have? So I think there were a couple moments that probably propelled me into like, I'm going to go for it. And
are you can't share these moments with like there's like a little kiss, like you had a couple of beers and one night.
No, Pepperdine, very dry campus.
We were watching Harry Potter and I talked about
there's actually one like this will be like, this is almost like prime. It's almost embarrassing to share, but it's like my roommate, Wesley, who's a great guy. We as a group of guys did something with Elizabeth and they're in a group, and he ends up saying, and this is where I'm like kind of figure out like, how do I feel? Do I, like, how would that be? And he ends up making a comment to the group like, guys, like Elizabeth was looking fine tonight.
Oh.
And there was like
and you're like, not my Elizabeth.
Yeah. Just scratch.
Yeah.
But like, honestly, it's like stuff like that where it's like, I think that helps bring clarity.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. I don't have all the time in the world to figure this out.
Was there a moment, do you want to go out on a date, or was it just more like it just sort of evolved into like, oh, we're going to hang out?
I was incredibly awkward. I was always like a note writer. I love
where this is going.
Yeah, no. But so we ended up going on a really nice walk around campus.
Okay.
And I don't recall exactly if I asked her out or asked her out via note. I don't know. I mean, I was not Mr. Smooth for sure.
Sometimes the awkward is smooth though.
Yeah, it's authentic.
It's endearing
right?
too.
Yeah, that can be charming.
Did you do like do you like me, yes or no kind of thing? Was that the kind of note?
No, it wasn't. I think it was more like just stating how I felt and asking her out.
I picture the note being like, "What's up, girl?"
Yeah.
I've been watching you for a whole year now.
Fast forward to our wedding. I'm in our thank you speech as we're just thanking everyone for being there. I ended up pulling out of my pocket. I printed out the very first message that I ever sent her on Facebook.
This is a theme. Wait, Michael Goldman did this.
Yeah, that's
from
right.
Talladega Health. He had like the messages.
Everything saved. Yeah. But my first reach out to her was like, I saw you were in the Mr. Feeney Facebook group, like whatever. And then I read this whole thing, and then I go, ha, what's up? So I was like, there's nothing smoother than ending a haha, what's up?
I love this.
Yeah.
Well, also Matrix level stuff. She's from New Mexico.
Yep.
Val is from New Mexico.
Yeah. Hot dog
is from Mexico. That's, again, I really think we're in a simulation.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding anymore. Let me just say this. I don't know if it's a simulation, like a computer, like Matrix simulation, or there's a civilization out there that's 10,000 years advanced, and AI is such that it actually created a universe, like we're really people and everything, like it's real flesh and blood, but it's so sophisticated. It's almost like a game with real human.
Yes, and some of the coders got lazy and like, let's just have both the moms be Deborah.
That's right.
They'll be like same code.
They're gonna. There's the code. There's similarity.
Yeah. And they were like, they were running out of time. They had a tight deadline. Like, let's just give these 50,000 people a Deborah.
Yep. They're gonna marry someone from New Mexico.
Yeah. Right.
Like things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna pick on Elizabeth anymore.
No, I'll just say Elizabeth is the best person I ever could have been with,
now
married. You're
just saying this so she'll hear it on the.
Yeah, I know she's gonna be listening.
I know you feel
like, you didn't talk about me enough, but it's like when I think about our story and just her support. I don't know. She's really just been. When you think about like her and I are just very compatible.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of my story.
Let me tell you a fun new game you can play. I just invented this for Hot Dog and I. At some point, I was like, we have a really good partnership, right? Like it's just a really good partnership between she and I. And because I'm silly too, and I was like, oh, when I say partner, you say
ship,
partner,
ship,
partner, ship. So especially when you get in an argument, by the way, feel free to do this with Ellie. Now, there has not been a time where she's been so mad at me, where she's been like, okay, mother, no, I'm not doing the game. But we do it when it's fun, and we do have a partnership moment. But also occasionally, if there's tension, I'll be like, oh, this is a good time to remind each other that we're in a partnership.
Yeah, I like that.
And if you're really in love with each other, like it's silly, it's so silly.
Yeah.
Even if you're like, okay, you do
arms
it. You
crossed,
do it.
you're begrudgingly
You do
like
it.
ship.
You say when I do
Ship.
you do it.
When I say partner, you say
Ship.
partner.
Partner. Ship. Even though it gets you. It gets you in the right spot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my contribution for
Yeah, that was- I like
relationships. So, everybody at home, please feel free to use that. I'm going to put that in my book. There also, we were talking about Brene Brown earlier, weren't we? Mm-hmm. Were you and I talking about this?
Yes.
Where she had the thing where, I don't know if she made this up or if she got it from somebody, but like when you come home at night, you ask each other, hey, where are you? Like, what percentage is your tank full? Mm-hmm. And out of 100. And like one of them's like, if I said, I'm operating on 20, and Val said, I'm on about 90. Like, okay, just I can pick us up here. Like, what do you need? You know? But so often, especially when you have two working partners, and this weekend was a great example. Where were we? We were driving to Tuscaloosa on Friday, and you could just tell. I mean, we were both. And I brought this up. I said, where are you right now? She said, I'm low. I'm also very low. How about we hold hands right now and just like,
yeah, that's nice.
Enjoy, like we just have to understand we can't get snippy with each other. It's kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like if you speak about it, if you talk about it out loud, it's better than just, because quite often in the past, I might have just like simmered, like silent treatment. Like, I can't believe she said that to me. I'm just going to.
Yeah, it's narratives you tell yourself. Yeah. You're projecting. You're, it is by putting it out into the universe, make it real. You're also sharing information.
You are. I just had the vision of me rolling with Joel, our events director. It's like, Joel, we've got a really good partnership. Whenever you get mad at me, Joel, which is I'm not infrequently. I would say he gets mad at me, but I'm meddling in events so much now. I'm like, okay, it's time. When I say partner, you say. I wonder how he'll do that.
Yeah,
I'm going to ask him. We're going to do an episode of him next.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask him. We'll see how this is going to go. Okay, let me get back. So we've covered family, Pepperdine, a little. Well, let's talk a little bit more about Pepperdine because that's such a cool experience. You talked about in high school, especially your senior year, you had that creative energy around journaling and podcasting, and you did other stuff too. I can't even remember, but I know there was a bunch of creative stuff that you did that. Is there anything unique about the Pepperdine experience that added to who you are today? Like that added to the collective Big Steve of today?
That's a good question. Yes. I mean, to me, those were like the formative years for sure. I think the biggest benefit I got out of Pepperdine was
Elizabeth.
It's the people that I met. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. Is the only social media I'm on.
Does that even count anymore as social media?
No, but it's also.
I mean, it is.
Some people use it as social media.
They do.
So that it kind of counts. But
this is your old soulness again. You're not on Facebook or Instagram.
I know.
Or Twitter.
Yeah. No.
Or Snapchat.
Mm-mm.
Or what's the other one?
In the past, I've had
another
things, but
TikTok.
There's always one more.
TikTok.
Yeah.
What's the newest thing? Is there something beyond TikTok right now? Snapchat and TikTok are the two key things,
I
right?
think Gen Z does a really good job of making sure we don't find out about it until
we don't know
until they've moved on to the next thing.
That's right.
Right.
Because there's a bunch of adults on TikTok now.
Yeah.
So much so. This is how behind I am. 2 weekends ago, maybe it's 3 weekends ago, Alabama, Tennessee weekend, 3 weeks ago. I am in Tuscaloosa without Val. She's at a family thing. And Carson and I and Tess, Val's daughter, my daughter, go to dinner. And one of Carson's best friends is a server at this restaurant we go to. And this obviously dad walks by and Carson's like, is that who I think it is? And I'm looking, I'm like, what? He's like, I think that's Cooking with somebody. I can't remember the guy's name. Cooking with Dave or Jim or something. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, he's got like a show on TikTok. He's like a dad, but I'm like, the guy that just walked by? He's like, yeah. And then she comes to the table. She's like, oh my God, you know who I'm serving? Cooking with whoever. And it's literally this, he's even older than me, maybe. He looks like every dad in Tuscaloosa. And he's got like 2.5 million followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
Of just these cooking shows. my whole purpose, if Cooking with Dave is that popular, they've got to be ready to move on
Yeah.
to something new.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you don't have social.
No.
Did you? I really derailed us with that rant right there because we were
No, it was
talking about what happened at Pepperdine to make you who you are today.
Yeah.
And you were saying the people that you met.
Yeah. So because I'm not on social media, I'm a texting fiend.
Oh.
So I'm like that. There will not be a day that's gone by in the last 5 years that I haven't texted somebody from Pepperdine, excluding Elizabeth.
Right. I want to get him saying, I'm a texting fiend. And I want to loop that to like a clip, and it'd be, I'm a texting fiend. Like, it'll have a totally different meaning when we put that out of context.
Yeah.
All right. So, and now that you're done with, you did your experiment in LA.
Yeah.
You're like, maybe I'll go back to the family business.
Yeah.
Do you remember, was it a call home? Did you visit? Was there like a singular moment where you're like, I think I'm going to come home and work in the insurance business?
Yeah. So I was in North Hollywood the year after graduation with that group from, May or June from graduation through May or June. It was 1 year rent lease. And I was there for about six months working, trying to find a job, figuring it out. When I went home for Christmas, it just like, I didn't tell my family that I was, it was on my mind. Like, I think I might move back, but I didn't share it with them. Mm-hmm. And so, we're there at Christmas, and now I'm driving down in my car. Things are packed. And I'm driving back down to North Hollywood. And I just remember thinking to myself, as I'm driving down the street and both my parents are, waving goodbye,
right.
I'm looking at them in the mirror. I'm like driving away, and I was like, what am I driving back to? Mm-hmm. Like, it just felt like, is this even really what I want? And so I actually, like 30 seconds later, so I'm like a minute and a half away from my house, called my dad on his work phone where I knew he wasn't.
Right.
to tell him that I was going to come work for the family business, but I was going to finish out the year. I just wanted to give him that moment,
right?
Versus like call that. It might just the drama was removed. But but for me, that gave me 6 months of just like no expectation, very free time,
right?
And I just remember in that moment, like being back down in North Hollywood and saying, I'm here with my friends. I'm supporting them on their improv shows. It's just like crazy life. My life is never going to look like this again.
Right.
And I'm never going to have as much free time as I have right now because I'm not even job searching. Like I started doing some part-time work because I was getting licensed so I could be prepared when I came back up.
Right.
But that was a very small sliver of my time in those 6 months, and just became really an opportunity for me to just say, enjoy it. Because
are you 22 or 23 or 24?
Yeah, I was 21 or 22.
Oh, you were young.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then moved back up, started the family business.
What's your first job coming back?
Like Cobra administration.
Oh,
doing some
that's
manual
exciting.
Cobra letters,
yeah.
And I was also doing custom newsletters. But they were actually looked fantastic, but way more work than it was worth. But I was free basically,
yeah.
So got that. Then I officially got licensed and started handling some account management stuff, and worked in kind of the cliche of I've worked every position in the industry, but from the employee benefits perspective, at least within an agency, I feel like that was true to some extent.
How long was that? Walk me through the positions over maybe your first 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, so I started April 2012.
Okay,
is when I I finished out my lease, and so started April. And then was doing, again, newsletter stuff, some Cobra administration, and really then just like learning the business. And we were trying some new things, but we were a small shop at the time. McNeil Insurance was, 5 to 7 employees.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was really for the next several years, account management, predominantly, with some other ancillary things, right? Small team, small family business. You're going to be doing other stuff too. But at that time, we were introduced to Jordan Shields.
Time out. Listen, yes. Is Andrew in the business at this time?
Yeah. So Andrew graduated high school, did some junior college stuff. There's a great JC in Petaluma, Santa Rosa area, and was going to become a police officer. Decided really at the last second he wasn't going to be police. Ended up joining the business. So really close to out of high school, he started at the business.
Okay.
which, for him has been very advantageous to get that early
Great
start.
decision.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
All right.
And he reflects on that quite a bit. And so it's myself, him, a few other team members. And so we were just, trying to write business, right? Grow. You have a good year, a bad year, right? That happens in all agencies. And we were introduced to Jordan Shield Insurance, which was a competing agency in Nevada right next door.
Right.
So they bought the building, but we weren't competing against each other that much, it seemed. And so, we were part of another benefits network.
Yep.
Really got Jordan involved in that network as well. And through the relationship, it was really friendly competitors. And then it became sort of we're not competing against each other anyway.
Right.
And so through that, Jordan and Keith had bought a third-party administrator up in Santa Rosa, which was Sonoma County. And through that, you had 3 offices, 3 very different cultures. And fast forward to 2015, we end up all moving to Petaluma, which was in the middle, really the middle location for everybody. Overnight, one big building, kind of this like Brady Bunch, but 3 families.
Yes.
And putting that in, and for how tough that could be, I think it played out really well.
So for those of our listeners who have never met Jordan Shields, he's quite a big personality.
Yes.
I mean, he is a really big personality, and so much so that when we were doing the whole Patriot thing, I think people were trying to keep me away from Jordan because they thought that he would be abrasive or something.
Yeah.
And it was quite the opposite. I liked him immediately. I think he liked me immediately. But he is a very distinct personality. Your dad is nothing like that.
No.
How did that relationship work so well together with him being so different?
Yeah, carrier reps would come and they'd be like, "How are you guys business partners?" Like that was just I think that was on people's minds, and part of it too. And I would say this: I've had this conversation with Jordan and Keith, and I would say this with Jordan here. Like, I think people would wonder, like, well, who could be business partners with Jordan?
Right.
He's very type A. That he's just he knows what he wants to do. Great, very intellectual. But can be abrasive. And back to the people trying to shield you from him. It's like, if you don't know him and you don't know really the generous person he is, that could really rub you the wrong way. That's that can be a big turnoff. And so I think through that, I think my father, very intellectual, no drama, no ego, not type A, in terms of that. And so, but like through that, I think Jordan really appreciates great work. Keith appreciates great work. And I think through that, they always found common ground and complemented each other in really, really remarkable ways. So it's a great story. And I've got to learn a ton from both of them.
Well, it's a great story because if you look at when you joined, when you merged, whatever, what year was that?
That was 2015.
And what was the total revenue of both agencies at that time?
At the time, probably around 5.
Yeah. So over the next 3 or 4 years, you doubled in size.
Yeah.
I mean, that's remarkable.
Yeah. Which I don't think we could have achieved having not come together too.
Yeah.
Which I think there's a good lesson in that as well. We rebranded as Arrow in 2017. Just to kind of, we were really, even though we were under one roof, we were still operating as, you pick up the phone, McNeil Insurance,
right,
whatever. And so I think trying to figure it out of this, employees that were coming on at that time said it feels like a startup because it was just like the new brand.
Right.
And we were just trying to figure it out. I mean, there were some really tough stretches of time too, as you're just culturally, trying to work through it. But, you fast forward today, I mean, Arrow's just an awesome agency.
Yeah. Well, plus there was a whole, the umbrella program, which these small mini acquisitions that, was that Jordan's brainchild, or was that both of them?
Yeah, one of my biggest lessons I learned from Jordan, just from a business perspective, is to make friends with your competitors.
Right.
You just never know, and if there's a competitor that you don't have respect for because they price gouge or like whatever, like you don't have to make friends with them. But there's a lot of good people in our industry, and to spend time with them, to just get to know them. Maybe it's sharing best practices. Maybe you just talk personal and you never get into it. But he was always having breakfast with a nearby competitor, And if there was ever, for him to just be able to pick up the phone and talk to a competitor, or just say, hey, we're taking this account, or maybe they were losing an account, but that led to planting seeds for future M&A. Of eventually, people were like, yeah, I'm thinking about selling, and I've got to know you, and you want to sell to somebody that is going to take good care of your clients. If you didn't go out of your way to say, I want to talk to all my competitors all the time,
right?
Those opportunities probably aren't going to present themselves to you, and it's going to be, more of somebody just saying, well, I guess I'll sell the highest bidder.
Yeah. Well, as I think about, I've used the term maybe on here. I know I've used it in our team setting before, which is growth without goals, which is just having the mindset or the attitude where you just always want to grow.
Yeah.
You're just trying to be better, really, at most areas of your life. There's not really a goal to just want to be smarter. Both Keith and Jordan, I think that was their mentality.
Yeah.
Like, they're always the smartest people. Nobody was ever going to come into one of their clients and be like, oh, this person knows more than Keith or Jordan.
Right.
They always have been experts in our industry. I think that might be a little bit waning. I think people are maybe like to try to shortcut things a little bit these days. Maybe that's me being like an old guy saying, get off my lawn.
Well, some of it is feels out of necessity, right? The expectations, not just for brokers, but insert the role here, where life is happening so fast, and you're kind of like, it's hard to just say like, well, let me check every box that I know I should, because if you do that, there's going to be a ton you don't get to. I think that's a real challenge in, parenting or, any industry.
I'm going to shift a little bit. I'm going to come a little bit now. I'm skipping some time, which is you taking over as managing partner of the firm. So at a very young age, when were you? Were you managing partner of Arrow? Where you were actually running the agency?
Around 2017. It was around the time we rebranded.
Which is, you were how old? What was that?
29.
Yep, well, that's pretty young.
Yeah.
Old soul again, in responsibility, in a family business with just multiple families.
Yeah, my two families.
This is hard. And then we we probably met in 2018.
Yeah.
Because I can always remember, because we were in the process of just determining if there's a way. There were these true agencies that were looking to do something with a private equity backed structure. There were these UBA agencies, another group out there that were looking to do the same thing. And we met, and I just remember thinking, wow, this young guy asks a lot of really smart questions. Like, that's all I can remember, because you wouldn't be at all the meetings, because I guess there were just different family members that came to things.
Yeah.
But every time you were there, you would be like, and you would ask a very thoughtful, smart question. I'm going to follow that with, what silliness do you remember about me? Do you remember anything about your first impression of me? Or
so the first time we met was in Denver.
Denver, correct.
And yeah, that was part of it. We were part of our kind of group of agencies that were thinking about maybe doing a transaction, and then there's this like Scott Smith guy, and maybe this could be an opportunity because he's also leading some other initiative, and maybe there's just an opportunity to come together here. And so there's a lot around like, we really need this meeting to go well. and so I remember you were down at the head of the table, and like there was a few other people my age that were there. I think maybe Kyle Blassman, and a few others that were younger but also part of the process. And I remember you came over as kind of like a meet and greet, maybe after dinner, right before dinner, and everyone's like, "Oh, hey, Scott." And I don't know who brought it up, but it just immediately started talking about college football, college sports, whatever. And in my mind, all I'm thinking is like, one, I know nothing about college sports really, and two, like I've so many questions for this guy. Like I was really hoping to get to know you. But we really, that opportunity is more just like, that was the only interaction we had on that first one, which was very, pleasant, and everyone had a good time. But to me, it was less about the socializing, more like, what are your thoughts on all this? Right. I did, like, I run to really, really dive deep, and all, we had plenty of opportunity soon after. But
what was it about? So when did we kind of identify like, oh, this is a kindred spirit? I'm trying to think where in the process, because, we do silly skits at True. We have music.
Yeah.
My personality is a little bit light.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Is there a time when you were like, I think this is
pretty,
I like this guy?
Yeah, pretty early on. Like, I talked about my journaling where you can go back, and so I have all these things captured, and so you see like different threads and patterns, and I was constantly writing talk to SS square, which means Scott Smith. It's safe space on a small journal. And so one, I was always commenting on that because that was always like a positive part of the day, like worth mentioning. I always enjoyed our conversations. But I think I also felt reciprocal that you were enjoying the conversations. And I think in the back then it was kind of the Wild West of even kind of before Patriot and then Media Fine. It was like just trying to figure it out, right? It was just a young company. And I think, I don't know if maybe you saw in me that there was this more fresh perspective of way less motive on, you never know where any angle is. We're all just trying to figure that out. And so I think in our conversations, I think we both felt the same way on a lot of things. I remember doing some writing on just kind of my philosophies that I wasn't intending to share with anybody, but shared with you. And I think that you were like, yes, this really resonates with me. And I think from that, it was in those early kernels where it was, we appreciate each other's perspective.
Are you telling me there are people in the world who like have angles on things and are thinking about their own?
I guess we all do to some degree, but
I guess we all do to some degree. And now we work together.
Yeah.
You are the executive vice president of strategic partnerships and programs. It's a lot.
It is.
That will get
my last role. I was like, that's pretty long, and then this one got even longer.
Yes.
So
how long? When was your first day at True? Do we know that date?
Technically, June 1st of 2023 was our kind of that.
That's not that long.
It's not that long, but to some degree, I mean, for the last several years, I've worked very closely.
Yes.
With you guys, and
well, I've said this before, and I think I get dinged for this. You know this. You know what I'm about to say. I said I'm the luckiest person in the whole organization.
Yeah. And
when I say the organization, that's Patriot, True, our collective family, because I still get to do what I love, which is create experiences, help agencies grow. By and large, still get to be myself. Got a little bit of a filter now, a little bit of a corporate line to walk sometimes, but it's, we talk about kindness always winning and true love. And our the True team is amazing. I mean, we're all here now. So actually, Valerie Garber-Turner is not here. All the boys are here in Gunnersville. And we got Britta Potamus over here, Mike Rogers, Scotty P, Joel, Chris Talley. I mean, that is just a good group of people.
Yeah. I
feel incredibly lucky to be working with you guys. What's the first 4 or 5 months been like? Is there any overall, like when you step back, is there any?
It's been a lot of fun. It's interesting transitioning into this role. One of the things that I don't want to say concerned by, but like wasn't sure how it was going to go was, talking to, so many people in a day of just different topics, but also like potential new partners and learning on, and like, are you talking to salespeople and what might that look like? But, to learn about all the different things that are going on in our industry, and whether we mutually think it's a fit that they're going to bring value to True member agencies or not, to me, that's just like intellectually very stimulating. Like, it's just like, it keeps you, apprised. So I think that's been really fun. And then it's also between not just the True team, but also just the ecosystem, between agencies and strategic partners. There's just so many good people, and just it really goes for our industry too. But, who we've partnered with, both in agencies and strategic partners, you just constantly feel good about individual conversations when you have events and you bring them together. You going to Oasis, like, these are things that have become highlights of the year, personally and professionally, because you're just like, this is when you bring good people together, amazing things happen.
They tend to. We were talking about this earlier, and I laughed about this. How many strategic partners do we have now, roughly?
We have, including some of our new ones, it's close to 70.
Right.
Now,
So 70,
across about 30 plus categories.
So some people call these vendors or sponsors, but we really do want to think of them as partners because we want to help grow their business. But we were sharing, like, one of your sort of reservations when you were coming on is like, I'm not really a salesperson, and I was like, oh, you're just really an educator. And it's funny because you've found yourself in positions where you've told people, like, I don't know if you're going to be successful, and I'd rather like wait, or let me just keep you in my hip pocket. If somebody needs you, like we can call you.
Yeah.
And people have said, no. Then they start trying to sell you that they'll be a good strategic partner.
Right.
That's just that has to be a good feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. But it makes me appreciate, what true is so like zoned in or just like zeroed in on its purpose, that it's very easy to say like, well, yeah, this is who we are. Like, we're going to have events, like, this is the way we bring value. This is how we're different. If that's not a good fit,
Right.
and what I'll always say on a call is, if you were to come on as a partner, would you be successful? And if I don't believe the answer's 9 or a 10 on 1 out of 10 scale, I'll tell you, and we'll diagnose why. And I also want to hear if you feel that way, because it could be that, we have, a lot of partners in that space, already, or I want to make sure that they're successful. And would you be coming in as a disadvantage by coming on knowing we've got these building relationships? So I think it makes it very easy for me to say, this is the reality.
Yep.
And if we both feel good that there's an opportunity and you're engaged, let's do it.
Yeah. Write us a check.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a bigger one. We got these events that are expensive these days.
Yeah. It's not, nothing's going down in price.
No, the food and beverage especially. Okay. One last question before we wrap this up. There could be more than one. I just say things like that because they sound like I'm supposed to say.
Yeah. Very professional.
Lake, how many times, is this your second trip to Guntersville or third?
So I was thinking about that today. I think only my second.
So the only time you came was like in 2019?
Yeah. Which kind of blows my mind because it feels like 4 or 5, but.
Well, I'm not going to ask you this question yet.
Okay.
When you'll be a repeat guest, so you'll be on a future episode.
Yeah. This is like Johnny Carson, by the way, when, if you got called over to the couch.
Yes. You'll be back.
When you're invited back. Yeah, that's the ultimate.
You'll be back.
Yeah.
I'll ask you about Guntersville because it's such a unique place, but I want you to see a little more of it. Because you actually get to do team trivia with us tomorrow night.
Yeah. Looking forward to that.
With which we're no pressure, but like we're expecting really big things from you.
So I just not to like, cut myself too short. Like, it's not like I'm way better at putting together a trivia challenge.
No, we're expecting you to know answers.
I know. Well, let me tell you. I'll say my worst round consistently for any trivia I go to is the music round. But I feel like that's where everybody lifts us up.
We're okay in music.
So
and sports.
maybe, yeah, that's solid.
So geography, science.
Yeah.
Sometimes pop culture.
We'll see.
Because I'm a little bit history sometimes.
Okay.
And then we'll what else do we have going on? Anyway, we're going to do I've already taken you a small, the little Scotty tour. I showed you where I grew up and everything. We're going to do some more stuff. What have we missed out on? Is there something that I should have asked Big Steve, pivotal in who you are right now, that we could either talk about right now, or we'll tease the listener watcher for next time?
If we've covered my CYO game-winning basketball shot, there's really nothing else to cover.
And we've watched it.
Yeah, and by the way, for pure accountability, when this show gets dropped, I think whatever we score in trivia tomorrow night, we'll have to comment in the info. We can say like, and Steven didn't show up.
That's right.
he did not meet expectations.
Big Steve, sincerely, you're one of the best people I know. Just a wonderful human. You happen to be smart as heck and very funny, but you're just a cool person that I'm proud to know. The past 2 years, at the end of every year, the beginning of the year, I write down 5 people who I want to spend more time with. And I'm just like, I need these people make me better. And you've been on that list for 2 years in a row because I actually am a better human when I'm around you. You're super positive. Sometimes I can start going down a negative town and you can bring me right back out of it. So I appreciate your friendship.
Yeah, I feel the same.
More than you know. And we have to cheers. We do this every time.
Right.
It's a long way over there now. Hold on. True love, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me.